This is a video showing how to replace the electrolyte fluid in the PAA sensor cap on the Xgenex Xactimus system. If you have any questions about the content of this video, please contact Xgenex. Before you begin working, ensure that you have the necessary supplies and PPE. For this task, you will need gloves, eye protection, and a bottle of electrolyte solution from the sensor manufacturer. First, remove the PAA sensor from the sensor housing. Turn the black nut that holds the PAA sensor in place and unscrew it to remove the sensor from the housing. The nut should only be hand tight, so you should not need any tools to accomplish this, but if you need to use a channel lock or similar tool gently to get the nut started, that is okay. Once you've unscrewed the nut, gently pull the PAA sensor out of the sensor housing. Take special care not to touch the bottom of the sensor to anything or bump it against anything as you're pulling it out. Next, you're going to unscrew the sensor cap from the PAA sensor. Do not use any tools to do this, you will damage the cap. When doing this, it's very important that you only touch the cap on the ridged part. Do not touch below this area. The cap has many very tiny laser drilled holes that allow the PAA to be detected, and touching any of these areas risks damaging the cap so that it is not usable anymore. Once you have the cap removed from the PAA sensor, let the sensor dangle gently by the wiring as you fill the cap. Be careful not to let the tip of the sensor touch or bump against anything, but it is okay if the sensor just dangles in the air for a minute or two while you are refilling the cap fluid. Once the cap has been removed from the sensor, dump out any fluid in the cap before you begin refilling it with new fluid. To refill the cap, unscrew the top from the electrolyte fluid bottle. The bottle is designed for you to cut off the tip and pour from there, but from my experience, filling the caps this way increases the risk for air bubbles to develop in the fluid, which can interfere with cap performance. It also makes the bottle more difficult to store and increases the potential for contamination or spillage. Pour the electrolyte fluid into the sensor cap. You will want to overfill it slightly to ensure that it remains full when you replace the cap on the sensor. You will also want to pour slowly to avoid creating air bubbles, which can interfere with the sensor performance. Once you are finished adding the fluid, it is time to reattach the cap to the rest of the sensor. You never want to use any tools to do this. Everything should only be hand tightened. In order to prevent spilling out the electrolyte fluid or creating air bubbles, you will want to hold the cap and probe as vertically as possible while handling. Take care to not touch or handle the bottom of the cap. Make sure to tighten the cap as tight as possible by hand. Do not use any tools to tighten. If the cap is not fully tightened, the fluid can leak back out. You will be able to feel it when the cap is tightened all the way, so if you are still able to twist the cap, it is not tight enough. Once you have the cap reattached to the sensor, place the sensor back into the sensor housing, making sure to keep the sensor as vertical as possible. Retighten the nut to secure the sensor in place. This is the proper way to refill the electrolyte fluid in the PAA sensor cap on the Xgenex Xactimus manifold.